If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello and welcome back to Must Love Books podcast. Today we have Kaylee and myself here for part 2 of Sunrise on the Reaping. Part 1 is currently available, and then we will be doing a part 3, splitting the book up into the 3 acts or 3 parts of the book, as we just kind of talk about what happens and our thoughts and our theories and whether or not we are wrong, yes, or correct, no. There will be a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't read it yet, you might want to save this episode for later. This is your spoiler warning, so if you continue listening, you're going to hear everything that happens in part 2 of Sunrise of the Reaping, not necessarily in the order that it happens in.
Yeah, we're kind of bad at that. We just talk about what we want to.
If you're still listening, we're 2 minutes in. If you haven't quit on us yet, we will be posting this whole series on our Patreon page, Must Love Books Podcast, and there will be some additional exclusive content there as well for you, including some book reviews and some behind-the-scenes things, whatever we feel like posting there. You know, there will be stuff.
We don't even know yet.
We don't know yet.
Surprise. But remember all of our theories from part 1 and what we thought would happen. I remember you mentioning that the new Luella was a mutt.
Yes.
That's about the only theory that I remember.
Yes, that was kind of the big theory, is that she was either a mutt or that it was just her dead body.
Yeah.
I'm glad that one was not correct. I'm so sorry.
It wasn't correct. I guess neither were correct.
Yes, because this isn't Luella.
Yeah.
This is a young girl, we believe from District 11, as the context clues later on kind of hint at. And no one really knows who she is. Her family's probably long dead. She is here as a punishment for some sort of rebellious acts. And it is now Haymitch and the rest of District 12's job to convince everyone that this is the real Luella. Which is just about as dark as our theories were.
It's basically a shell of a human, because she has drugs being constantly pumped into her body and earpieces on telling her what to say and do.
Which, of course, means that the Capitol can also hear everything
going on.
So now they have to, they already had to kind of monitor themselves, but now they definitely have to watch themselves. So Haymitch renames her Lulu because he cannot, in good conscience, call her Luella. So they call her Lulu, and she has very limited range of speech. She has pre-programmed phrases, essentially. And all we know from the very beginning is that this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well at all.
She was basically put in there to make the Capitol look better and played off as Luella did not die. And now they're sending a helpless girl into an arena to be killed there for everyone else to enjoy, rather than having it look bad on the cup.
Which I think is kind of interesting that, obviously it's a cover-up for Haymitch's big middle finger over Luella's death, but I think it also has to do with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, how many victors did not make it into the start of the games. And I feel like Snow is determined with having every victor start the games. Even if he has to bring in a fake victor, he wants everyone there because it is a sign of him having complete and utmost control over everyone and everything.
He came to the district, well, I don't know, their apartment.
So they bring Lulu in. Everyone just kind of immediately grasped onto her. They don't really have a choice, but they essentially go, she's ours now. What happens next is, so they all eventually go to bed for the most part. And then we have Haymitch. He is reciting a poem to Lulu, who cannot sleep.
I would like to add, I think it's very heartwarming how they were all kind of scared of this new idea of having this random girl there. So they all decided to sleep together and basically slumber party.
They do have a big slumber party.
Made me very sad.
Yeah, it's bittersweet.
It is, because it's like, that is definitely something kids do when they're scared. Either they'll go to like their siblings or whatever, and they just sleep in the same room when they're scared. And that's something they did, and it brought them closer together. And it just
really, really reminds you, hey, these are children.
Yeah, it hurt knowing what's going to happen to them.
While Haymitch is trying to go to sleep, he is thinking of Lenore singing a song to him. And this song that she sings comes from an Edgar Allan Poe poem that she is named from. It is The Raven, which I love. I love Poe. And in this poem, there is, a sudden tapping, and he wakes up and there actually is a tapping, almost like a horror story. It turns out to be Beat, who ran up all the stairs to come in. Wirus was able to knock down the surveillance cameras. Like, this is some heavy duty, the odds of them being able to accomplish this is already extremely slim without getting caught. So Wirus gets the cameras down for a few minutes. Beatty runs into the room and he has a plan.
Yeah, he has a plan, and he needs Haymitch to help out to break the machine, in quotes. And I thought it was really interesting because, can I read?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know.
Read it out. Recite it for us.
I'll just start it from the beginning. BT, slightly short of breath, I came up the utility steps from the 3rd floor. Wirus knocked out the power in the building. The surveillance cameras are down. She estimates we have about 10 minutes left. Are you serious about breaking the arena? Yes. Just tell me what I have to do. What breaks the machine? Time, usually. It comes with fatigue, wear and tear, erosion, and then something else. But we don't have the luxury of time, so we need a different approach. Is catching fire in the 75th Hunger Games, where it's literally a clock, and that is the last Hunger Games.
Well, as we know, Lucy Gray's words, one of her last words, it was too early for Katniss. They didn't have enough time. Mm-hmm. The parallels just keep paralleling.
Yeah, very, very much so. I thought that was interesting, and I definitely caught on. Like, right as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, it makes... Little did he know then that it would be literally time.
Unless...
He did know.
We do know that there's going to be some kind of connection with Plutarch, and we know that Plutarch created that last arena, so perhaps that was always the plan. Obviously not at this point in time, but it was intentionally done because time's finally up. It's finally the right time. So they start to come up with this plan about destroying the arena, and Beatty's idea is to drown it. There are the hills, the berms that the mutts come out of.
Yep.
So his plan is for Haymitch to follow the mutts back after a mutt attack, because we know there's going to be a mutt attack.
Right.
It's the games. Find where they sneak back out of the arena into their underground, follow them in, and blow it up, because there is a ton of water under the arena. And by blowing it up, they can flood the whole arena out.
And he obviously needs help with this. But BT also recruits Ambert, his son, knowing that by having his son do this, he is most likely going to die.
He already knows Ambert is going to die. He has accepted this. He understands this. I mean, I'm sure he does have a small sliver of hope that if they flood it, he can get his son out and save him and escape together. But he has to know that even if they do flood it, the chances of actually saving Ambert
very low.
are very, very low.
So yeah, he recruits his own son to help Haymitch and kind of go with this plan. And part of the plan is to have Haymitch kind of distance himself from the newcomers once the games begin. So that way he can go off and look for this, and it doesn't draw red flags to the game makers in the capital, basically. So he does make the decision to separate himself from the newcomer.
As they begin to wrap up their little planning session, Beatty asks Haymitch a favor, essentially. Don't let him suffer. He doesn't want Ampert to die a painful, horrible death. And Haymitch promises he will do his best. Honestly, we know of this Haymitch at this point in his life. As much as he can, he's true to his word.
He is.
Or at least he has the intention.
Yes.
To be true to his word.
He's definitely the protector. And I feel like even the kids, because I mean, he is on the older side for the Hunger Games. He's 17. So he very much feels protective over the kids.
And not just the ones in his district.
And not just the ones in his district.
In all the districts, he has the little doves, as he calls the kids.
Now, he definitely plans on keeping all of them safe, which is also another thing that's sad, knowing that obviously there can only be one winner of the Hunger Games until the 74th Hunger Games when they decide there can be two. But in this situation, knowing that there's only going to be one winner, I wonder what was going on in his head.
I think at this point, Haymitch, he knows he's not coming out. He knows that he is supposed to die in the arena. So I think he, at this point, just wants to do his best to protect those that he can. Because he knows, even as they go through this plan to blow it up, he knows that he could kill himself in the process. He knows that this is a suicide mission. He knows that he's not getting out of this. And in fact, we do have a few times throughout parts 1 and 2 where he says, I wonder if this person has a chance, if that will be our victor, if that's who is going to make it. He never once thinks
he's gonna be the one.
Not since he met Snow and he understood, I'm out. No matter what. And I think he accepts that pretty well. He immediately starts focusing on others, which to me is kind of a parallel to Katniss. Young Haymitch reminds me a lot of Katniss. Let's go out to the interviews.
They introduce the one and only Effie.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I loved that Effie was in it.
Yes.
And I know that this is one of the connections that people felt was kind of like less of an Easter egg and more of fan service. To me, I feel it makes sense for us to start to get to know Effie just a little bit, just to see her. It didn't feel like fan service. It didn't feel obvious. I thought it was cool that, one of the stylists was her younger sibling and she's here to, kind of help out. But I think it's important to show us the side of Effie that is fully in the capital brainwashing.
Yeah, because she's completely different. She makes it seem like it's, I was going to say game. It is a game. Even like reading from the time that they introduce her. Dark days. A lot of people lost their lives to guarantee peace and prosperity of our nation. And this is our chance. No, this is our duty to honor them. Well, she's swallowed the capital propaganda hook and took the line and sinker with it. But at least she's brought us some decent footwear. So it does show how brainwashed she really is, where this to her is just like Met Gala, basically.
Yeah, she treats it like this is the Met Gala as a school assignment, which for the Capitol,
it is.
It is. I also think it was really important for them to do this with Effie because Effie became such a loved character after the books, but especially after the movies. Everyone loves Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah.
I know I sure do. And I'm just excited to see her come back again.
Yeah.
And did you see who's going to be playing her?
I did not.
Elle Fanning.
Really?
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh my God.
Perfect casting.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
They also made Beatty hot.
I haven't seen Beatty.
It just came out. It came out at like midnight.
Is it at TikTok?
It's on. Yeah, I'm sure it's on TikTok. I saw it on Instagram. But they picked a very attractive man to be Beatty.
Let me find this. I got the official account on TikTok. E.T. Here we go. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He doesn't look old enough to have a kid.
Yeah, he doesn't look old enough. He seems way too young.
Yeah. Wow.
But his kid is only 12. Ampert is a baby.
That's true. He is a baby.
Which I didn't realize until I don't know if it wasn't mentioned before or if I had just forgotten it, but towards the end of part 2, we were told, or at least reminded, that he is 12 years old. And I'm like, right.
Later on in the part, Hamish kind of explains how he's like his little brother because of how small he is. And they do like a height variance in there to show just how small and how much of a baby he is, and it makes it really sad.
Which really, after seeing Hamish and Ampert's friendship, I just want to know what was going through Hamish's head.
Me too.
During Katniss and Rue.
Yeah.
That had to fucking hurt.
Yeah.
He was probably crying like a baby like we were.
Yeah, we'll get into that a bit later once we get to that part, because there's a lot to say about that. But yeah, they go and after Effie, does her thing, they do their interviews where they announce the newcomers.
Yes, officially announced to the Capitol, we have our own alliance. We are the newcomers, and we stand by each other. Every single member of the newcomers sticks to that.
Yes.
And the Capitol is eating it up. Except till the end, then they get bored. Oh my goodness, we're so bored of these children helping each other to not die.
I forget how many newcomers.
To 12, and there's 4 of them. 24. I had to do the math. There's more newcomers than there are
newcomers
careers.
Than there are careers, and I think that's very important of how many kids came together against.
And it's something that the Capitol is going to eat up and enjoy seeing. And I think that helps with sponsors and stuff. But we also know that the newcomers, a lot of them are weak.
Yeah.
A lot of them are young.
Yeah.
And we know that they don't have the experience that the careers have. So at this point, it is, yes, they have the numbers. And this is something that came up in part 1, too. They had the numbers, but they didn't win. But in part 1, the whole thing was, you have the numbers, why don't you fight back?
Yeah.
And now we're going to see, now they have the numbers in the arena, is fighting back going to help?
Right.
Which I thought was an interesting parallel.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the interviews, I feel like, go pretty well.
I cannot wait to see Maisie Donner's interview.
I can't wait for her role in general, because I think it's going to be iconic.
She's going to be great. And McKenna Grace, I love her.
I haven't seen anything, but seeing her picture is how I imagine
you've
her.
seen her in stuff and you don't realize.
Really?
Because when she was a little girl, she played the younger version of every freaking female character in a movie or on TV, like, ever. She played Captain Marvel's younger self. She was young Caroline in Vampire Diaries. I know you've seen that.
Yeah. And young Sheldon, I do remember her being in that. Handmaid's Tale, I watched that with her.
She was young Emma on Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. House, that's where I remember her from. Is Fuller House.
Yeah. I haven't actually watched any of that. Young Theo in Haunting of Hill House. Young
Yeah,
Sabrina Spellman from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Yeah, so she has been in a lot and I haven't realized it. Dog with a Blog. That's what I remember her, too. Because that was still kind of my time on Disney. She's exactly how I pictured Maisie.
She's also going to be in Scream 7, which I'm excited for. The casting for Lenore is great. Jesse Plemons as Plutarch Heavensby.
I've seen Lenore Dove.
We don't have a President Snow yet. Really, really love for it to be Kiefer Sutherland, Donald Sutherland's son.
That is.
The original President Snow.
That would be great.
I don't think he'll do it because it was, his dad died shortly after that, which was very sad. I was very sad by that. But he's at the exact right age that this President Snow would be at.
Yeah.
And obviously he looks like his father.
Right. Can't really get any closer to that.
Yeah. It would be perfect. I don't know if he'll go for it, but I would love that so much.
That'd be.
Anyway, so we're at the interviews.
Yes.
Which was kind of fun to see. They're all, talking about their skills. I just want to see Maisie being her sassy little self, insulting everyone. Yeah. And they're just eating it up. She's a little comedian for them. But no, she really hates you.
It. Yeah.
She means it.
She means it. I love how much she insults. Who's that one chick? Drusilla. She insults her all the time, and I think it's great.
I cannot wait to see that back and forth.
Yeah.
She has some of the most iconic lines.
She's very quick with her insults, too.
Yes, she's so quick at it.
It reminds me of our cousin Stephanie. But, yeah.
Yes, Maisie Donner is actually from Something Smutty Book Club. Daddy Zeus.
Daddy, as we call her. But, yeah. She's definitely like her. After the interview,
Then we have Wyatt.
Yes, Wyatt.
After Maisley is Wyatt, and he is doing his whole gambling numbers thing, which I think is really cool.
Iconic.
Yes, and the Capitol, they love it. This is unique. This is great.
Can you read off of his interview? Because he says something that I think is very powerful, like the betting odds.
So he's talking about how he's an odds maker, and he set the odds for gambling events back in 12, and he gives odds on who will win the Hunger Games. Okay, so Wyatt spouts off complicated odds that a game maker with a calculator confirms. I thought that was cool. They back it up. When he correctly figures the amount of sponsor dollars it would take to send a tribute a stuffed pheasant 2 weeks into the games, given rising inflation of 38% a day, he genuinely blows Caesar away. I wasn't so hot in arithmetic either. Caesar is dunking on himself this whole interview, and everyone is dunking on Caesar like, you're dumb and you're here because you got pretty hair.
Literally.
Oh, that was his whole interview.
Didn't he do the odds of the newcomers winning?
Yes. So while he was practicing his interview with Drusilla is pretending to be Caesar and asking all the questions and stuff. She asks, who do you recommend our audience bet on? And Wyatt says, well, it's tempting to go for the low-hanging fruit. The odds will always look good for most of the careers, like Panache from District 1, the largest tribute, trained, has a high score. I'd give him 11-5 odds, which means he has a 31.25% chance of winning, which out of 48 kids,
that's pretty good.
They're over 30% chance of winning.
Yeah.
Those are huge odds. Then he goes on to say Merritt from 4 is a contender with her physique, and she has an 11 from the game makers, which indicates she's probably really good with a trident, so I'm sure that might come up. And, she's from the same district as Finnick, who I love. So Drusilla, who clearly does not like any of her tributes, is all, well, fancy math, but everyone knows the careers are good. And Wyatt is all, obviously. But what made these games a novelty is that all 48 tributes have locked into alliances before the start. Nothing like this has ever happened before, which is correct. The careers are powerful, yes, but the newcomers outnumber them 2-1. If I was betting, sure, I'd take a look at the careers, but if the alliances really hold, if the tributes really defend each other to the death, anyone has a shot. And if you're not afraid of some risk, it's better bang for your buck if you back a more obscure newcomer, because the odds are not in their favor, so they'll pay off higher in the end. Give me a name, says Drusilla. Hamish Abernathy, says Wyatt. He fucking called it before they even got into the arena. He scored a 1, exactly, with no apparent handicaps. He's physically fit, and his behavior suggests a boldness that disturbs the game makers. Which Hamish, his response is, whoa, buddy, you don't have to talk me up like that. Like, I'm not that great. You don't have to talk me up like that. I don't need the help. Then he goes on about his own odds. But so what I find interesting of it is, so Wyatt totally understands that he was given a 1 as punishment, and because the Capitol is afraid of him. They want him out of there as fast as possible. His reason for getting a 1 is the exact reason why Katniss got a 12 in Catching Fire.
Yeah.
That rebellious spirit, that putting it in your face kind of bravado going on. Different scores, but both given for the exact same reason. Both winners, as we know. It just really shows us again, we're going on odds in whose favor they're in, and okay, now the newcomers have twice the numbers. Can they take over? So after Wyatt's official interview, then they have Lulu come on, and Lulu is wearing a giant snake.
Literally.
I love her. She's obsessed with it. She is hissing at people, and then she gets angry, and she kind of breaks through her brainwashed conditioning just enough to deliver a message that the people in the Capitol aren't very happy with. Yeah. She starts growling and screaming, "You'll murder us, you'll murder us, you'll murder us, you'll murder us," over and over and over again. And everyone is like freaking out. Caesar is calling for help, and then she suddenly faints, which I'm sure has nothing to do with the drugs being pumped into her chest.
Yeah.
And then everyone just completely ignores that happened.
Literally.
Like, okay, nothing happened. Hamish's turn.
Yeah.
And so this, I believe Katniss and Peeta has seen Hamish's interview. I think there's something about it mentioned in Catching Fire when they're steadying up the other victors that they're going to be up against and different things going on. So for Haymitch's interview, he is going on playing this rascal but not a rebel. I'm sneaky but not dangerous. I'm mischievous but I'm not a traitor. And he's really trying to play that line in between to at least get himself sponsors. And if those sponsors won't help him, he's hoping it'll help someone else, anyone else. Now, people seem to really love Haymitch's little rascal behavior, and they're all in on it. They're loving it.
Yeah.
I wonder what Snow was thinking during that.
It probably made him very nervous because I think Snow knew he couldn't trust Haymitch. And the fact that the Capitol and everyone loved him so much made him nervous.
Or at this point, is he just cocky enough to go, well, he's going to die anyway?
That's also true.
So after the interviews, Mitch has another secret meeting with Plutarch, except this time it is a phone call with Lenore Dove. And I love that they did this so much. She is safe. She is,
for now,
you know, she's at least still safe for now.
Yeah.
Haymitch thinks she's probably dead.
Yeah. At this point, he does.
At this point, yeah, he is very concerned that she is dead, but she is alive. She's not even in jail anymore. She is at home. They're keeping her indoors, basically on house arrest for her own safety, but she's alive, and I love that. And Plutarch basically uses this as a way to gain Haymitch's trust because Plutarch also wants to take down the arena. He's in on the plan, which is great. And it just really shows us, you know, how long that they had been working on this and how long they continue to work on this before it finally works. Years later, Haymitch learns about the berms and how he can follow the mutts. And he knows what to look for now.
And then Ambert's plan, or his role in this, is basically to find the ammunition needed to blow up the giant tank that's in the berm.
Yeah.
Which is it District 9? One of the districts, the two girls, their token is these sunflowers.
Yes.
That basically are going to be used for the ammunition. They're going to start on fire.
Yeah, they're the explosive devices.
Yeah. So the plan is for him to stay by them so that way when they unfortunately get killed.
Or if he can convince one. He's hoping he can just convince one, but he's also ready to take one off the body if he has to.
That is to be given to Haymitch, where he is able to start the fire, what's it called, Flint Striker?
Yes, in order to
blow
it up.
Tank.
So they have a fairly solid plan.
They do.
There's a lot of unpredictable variables, of course, but considering where everything is at in this world and in this story, they have a solid plan. It's riding on a lot of ifs, but I think, you know, it has a chance. So now we are at the night before they go in, and Effie has joined them. Mm-hmm. She's officially part of the team now, I guess.
She invited herself.
Yeah, she's just there. And they decide to create some name calling for the careers that they don't like. And they call them the near beer careers to, you know, that's a silly little thing that the Capitol is going to eat up. And they're going to enjoy this. And anything that they can do to limit the power of the careers will help them.
Yes.
And with these name calling, they're hoping to limit their sponsors for the careers while increasing their own. Which, as we know, a sponsorship gift can mean life or death. So they're preparing to enter the arena.
Wait, but can we say, before they enter the arena, how they join in one last group hug and they all surround Lulu?
Yes.
As the middle because she's officially one of them. And they're going in there knowing that they're gonna do everything they can to protect each other.
Which is the saddest really but sweetest. Sad. Yeah. Because we know that this isn't going to end well. No. And here we are getting attached to these characters that we spent the whole time saying, don't get attached. We know they're going to die. And here we are, fully attached. So they are having their, you know, final hurrah. They're singing together. Basically, they're just spending time. They're really just enjoying their last moments together. Then they go into the tubes and everything. They go up to, you know, they get their special outfits. They get their chips. They go up to the arena. And Wyrus had some advice, which I thought was good advice. First, avoid the slaughter. Get weapons. Look for water. And this is what is running through Haymitch's head as they finally start the games.
Yes.
And basically what we have here is we find out everything in this arena is poisonous.
Yeah, so Haymitch, as the Hunger Games start, Haymitch grabs one backpack. Just runs, grabs a backpack, avoids the slaughter.
Which is the exact same thing Katniss does.
And then he finds water. What does any normal person do when they see water? They drink it. As he's drinking it, he looks across the lake or stream that he is drinking from and sees a little bunny just die. And in that point is when Haymitch realizes that the river, stream, lake, whatever it is poisonous. So he's sitting there emptying the only bag he took and happens to find these like charcoal pills.
Yes.
And just starts them.
We know
to
that
get
charcoal can neutralize poison, and it helps him, he pukes it up everywhere. And once he finally gets it out of his system, he knows he has to conserve the food in his backpack because that is the only edible food he is likely to find, including the water, which he's already drank a ton of because he didn't realize the water was going to be poisonous.
Yes. One of the only other foods he has in that bag happens to be potatoes, which we were already given that clue.
Yes, we knew that there was definitely going to be potatoes because of the potato light that Beetee taught them how to make. Now, he doesn't have the tools anymore because he gave them to Maisley and Wyatt, but now he can at least eat the potatoes, which I think is the smart move now that we know that everything is poison.
Literally everything.
That reminds me of that, TikTok sound. All the food is poison.
Yeah.
Because all the food is poison.
All the food, some trees even, bushes, the whole thing's poison. So, good luck.
Yes. So we essentially get through the first day, very much like Katniss's Hunger Games. She's separated herself as Haymitch has separated himself because of his low score, and he doesn't want to make anyone else a target for being with him. Yeah. Plus, this also gives him the chance to go off by himself and get into some explosive shenanigans.
His goal is to head as far north as he can to find the berms and have Amber meet him as far north as he can. And the first night is the night where they hear the most cannons.
Yes, which I think is true for at least most of the games.
Right.
And we find out Wyatt did not make it. He did not make it past the slaughter.
We do not know. We don't find out the reasoning for any of the deaths.
At least not yet.
At least not
maybe
yet.
In part 3 we'll get some more information.
Right. But the assumption that Haymitch has is that he died protecting Lulu and or Maisley.
Yes, which, when we first met Wyatt, thought he was going to kind of be a jerk.
Yeah, same.
And he turned out to be extremely loving,
caring,
and supportive, and nurturing. And he, I would completely believe it that he sacrificed himself to save one of the other newcomers, if not one of the other District 12 tributes.
Yes.
So then Haymitch is finally getting better. He's over his poisoning, and somehow Lulu has not only survived the slaughter,
found him.
But she has found Haymitch.
In the most creepy way possible.
The most creepy way possible.
She pulls him out of a bush by his feet or something like that.
Yes. And Lulu is hungry. She's ready to eat all the poisonous food. And Haymitch just has his work cut out for him trying to keep Lulu alive.
It's like a toddler.
Almost makes me wonder if they intentionally set Lulu to go find Haymitch. If the game makers or Snow put that in.
Well, she does say, she repeats, find Haymitch.
Find Haymitch. So
those are the only words she really says. Find Haymitch. So someone told her, whether it's an earpiece in her ear, or maybe one of the other newcomers just yelled at her to go find him so that she was safe because they knew she would be safe with him.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I think it's going to be the more nefarious answer, which is they made her go to him because Snow wants Haymitch to see her die. We know this. Yeah. So, they go on together for a little while, and he has to keep distracting her from the food and sharing his own food with her, so he's limiting his supply, which is honestly what I would have done too.
Yeah.
She's like a little baby.
Yeah.
You gotta feed her.
Yeah.
Then they find some flowers, and she has to go sniff these flowers. But, as we know, everything is poison. And she passes quite quickly, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it triggers something in Haymitch, and he has a complete repeat of Luella's death. And he scoops up Lulu's body, and he takes off running into the woods to the point where the Capitol cannot get to her body. He doesn't want the Capitol to have her, just like with Luella. He says, enough, she is not your plaything. And he rips the pump, the medicine pump that was putting the drugs in her. So technically that is what killed her.
Yeah.
That's when the cannon goes off. However, she would have died anyway. We know that. So as he's running He gets attacked by mutts, butterfly mutts, that have like some kind of electric sting.
Or they touch him.
And he is able to fight them off with a torch. And it's when they retreat that he's able to find the berm. So he knows where to go. So he's off by himself for a little bit, waiting for Ampert, who does finally catch up. And when he catches up, you know, they're trying to play their roles.
Yeah.
Haymitch is still acting like the rascal. I just want you for information. I'll give you some food for info. You know, what's it like? How do people die? Kind of thing. And obviously, we know that that was the plan for them all along, to meet up.
Yeah.
But hopefully the Capitol doesn't know.
Yeah, they try to play it off as Ampert went to go find him. They stuck together. Haymitch keeps trying to push him away and tell him to go find the newcomers, that he's not safe. But then he gives in to Ampert, even though the plan all along was to give in to him. But he tried to make a show of it.
Yes, Haymitch does a great job making a show of it and playing his role, which is something that he does pass on to Katniss and to Peeta.
Yes.
Which Peeta caught on to it much better than Katniss did. But she did finally get there. She finally got there. But then there was this section, they're getting ready to go. They're getting ready to move forward with the plan. They have the pieces. They know which berm to hit. They're ready to go.
Yeah, he very much, before the plan, takes care of Ampert. He gets a sponsor, and he saves the food and everything given, Haymitch does, from the sponsor, and he shares it with Ampert. And then he watches over him while he sleeps.
Being that protective figure.
Yeah, which shows that, again, which makes it even more heart-wrenching than before. Suzanne...
Right?
Really get you loving these characters that you know you're going to die. That are going to die.
Yeah. So they're getting ready to go, and then there's this passage before Haymitch leaves to do his part of the plan. If I do this thing right, blow open the tank and set off a flood, likely it will take me out. So he's planning.
He thinks he's going to die.
He thinks he's going to die.
And he's content with it.
I mean, 6 feet of fuse does not allow for much of an escape window. True. If the explosion doesn't finish me off, surely the water will. So he's fully expecting to be blown up or to drown. I console myself with the thought that either of those deaths will be far kinder than anything the Capitol will devise for me if I somehow make it out of Sub-A alive. Hoping for something better could be dangerous. It could blind me to the reality of my situation. I remember how Mama always said, where there's life, there's hope. But from where I'm sitting, hope seems a lot like white liquor. It can fool you in the short run, but like as not, you'll end up paying for it twice.
Yeah.
And that right there, I think, is the most important passage of this entire book so far. Because it shows not just what's going on here, but it is telling us about Haymitch's future.
Yeah.
You know, he becomes an alcoholic trying to drown everything out because of what he experiences in these games and what I presume comes after the games.
Right.
Because he knows that if he survives, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Evening falls. They have their food. They eat together. They talk about the poisoned food. And they get ready and they go. They're not wasting any more time. They go into the berm. Ampert gives him a torch, and he talks about how young Ampert is. They are reminding us again that Ampert is very, very young. So Haymitch gets down into the berm, and he sets off the fuse. Plan is going well. It's going as expected, and he finally makes it out. Then, as soon as he gets out, there are mutts.
Yeah, he sees that the berm is open still, because Ampert was supposed to hold it open with the torch for Haymitch to come. And he did that, except when Haymitch got to the top, after the water's coming in, he realizes Ambert's nowhere to be found. And that right there, it was like we knew it was over. It doesn't seem like the water got him, so at that point, you can assume that it was something worse than water. At this point, I thought it was a career that might have found him and took him out, but I feel like what actually found him was a lot worse than what any career could have done.
Let's see. So after the blast, he's looking for Ampert, and he doesn't find him. But what he does find is a sound distinguishable from the usual nighttime hums of the forest. Animal, but distinct from the bats. Not chirping, but chattering, coming from multiple mouths. So, mutts. Violent, vicious mutts. And it sounds like, I imagine squirrels.
That's how I imagine,
evil, bitey squirrels.
Yeah, small squirrels.
Yes, and it kind of reminded me to their conversation with District 12 of how they don't want to die eaten by weasels.
Yeah.
And President Snow clearly heard that and made a comment about dying about weasels. Well, they're not weasels, they're squirrels. But this is exactly what happens to Amber.
They leave nothing left of him.
They're
besides
just
his bones.
Not even his clothes.
No.
Everything is gone. He's just a skeleton. And I feel like those mutts were chosen intentionally.
Yeah, even Haymitch mentions that, he tried to get them off of him and tried to get them on him, but they wanted no part of him. It was almost like they had his scent.
Yes.
And all along, it was meant for him, and they were supposed to find him.
And this was a punishment not just for Beatty, but for Haymitch as well. Haymitch is forced to break his promise. Amber suffers.
A lot.
Probably, easily the most gruesome death.
Yeah, he was eaten alive to the bone.
Out of
I
everything
don't even
we've
eat
seen.
my chicken wings to the bone.
Right?
It was...
This was the most gruesome death in anything Suzanne Collins has written. And I have a lot of feelings about that.
Me too. Me too.
That one hurt.
It hurt a lot, and you could just feel Haymitch's pain. And it makes you wonder, that promise that he had with Beatty, where he told him that he wouldn't let him suffer and that he would do everything he could to make sure Amber didn't suffer. He could not stop it.
Which, again, brings me back to Katniss and Rue.
Yeah.
There was nothing... Obviously, they were very different types of deaths. One was at the hands of the Capitol and was far more violent. But there was nothing either of them could have done to save that younger sibling-esque tribute. And they both have a complete crash out afterwards. Haymitch is in a complete rage, screaming about, you all want a party? I'll give you a party. And he's throwing dirt.
Hitting trees with axes.
Hitting trees, knocking shit apart. Arena is... It's not crumbling down, but there is damage done.
Yeah, you start seeing the damage that the water tank is starting to do.
And then Haymitch starts to sing one of the banned songs,
yes.
Specifically one from Lenore Dove. This song, I think, is really Suzanne just telling us this is the point of the story.
The whole
right
thing.
Here.
Yeah.
They hang the man and flog the woman who steals the goose from off the common. Yet let the greater villain loose that steals the common from the goose. The law locks up the man or woman who steals the goose from the common, and geese will still a common lack till they go and steal it back. Like, this is a song calling for rebellion against the rich.
Yep.
This is their Eat the Rich song.
Mm-hmm.
And Haymitch is basically celebrating. However, it doesn't last. The sky of the arena flickers back into focus. There's some sparks, but the sounds of everything breaking down have kind of subdued. And then Haymitch, he's not fully sure what happened yet. So he pulls out his binoculars and climbs up a tree like a squirrel mutt, he says, as fast as he can to find a lookout position. He's looking through his binoculars for an answer. Have I truly broken the arena? Are the games finished? Far in the distance, beyond the meadow, the mountain erupts in a fountain of lethal gold, and I have my answer. For me, the party is over. And part 2.
What do you think that means?
A volcano is erupting.
Yeah.
We're going to take that quite literally. But, I think he was hoping for just a moment that this eruption was a symbol of the arena breaking. However, I think it's very clear that this volcano eruption is the Capitol's revenge.
Yeah.
Specifically, President Snow's revenge.
Yeah.
You think you can break us? Well, here's a fucking volcano.
For a second, when I read it, I was like, oh, the party's over, meaning the games were over, and that maybe his tank took out the other tributes.
Yeah,
I
that's
did
kind of
have
what I thought
that
was going to happen, was he accidentally kills everybody by flooding the arena. And we see now that is not...
No, that's not the case.
That's not the case. He maybe flooded underground, and he broke some trees.
But not enough to...
It was nowhere near enough.
Arena.
Nowhere near enough. And now we are moving on to part 3. Do you have any theories?
So I think Maisley is going to have an important part in part 3, just because she got separated from the newcomers. And they didn't know where she was or what she was doing. They had theories that maybe she turned her back and went to the careers because her face wasn't shown in the sky. But as far as what we know, she is by herself. So I do think she's going to have a big part in part 3.
I think her death is going to be very profound. Yes. It's going to really mean something because Maisley Donner has been mentioned in so many of the books, specifically the trilogy, and we wouldn't have so many mentions of her in the future if she wasn't going to be important.
Right. I think she might be the ultimate, like, sacrifice for Haymitch.
Yeah. And she is, all besides Haymitch, she is all that is left of District 12.
Yes.
And I think that's going to hit harder.
Yep. And then, I mean, obviously part 3 is the last part, and I still strongly believe that Lenore Dove and Haymitch's family will die at the Capitol's hands.
I think so too.
So I think that's also coming.
The only question on their deaths is, are they already going to be dead when he gets home, or will they be killed in front of him in some kind of quote-unquote accident?
I think they'll already be dead. I think after he blew the tank up, they were like, this is your punishment, whether you live or not. This is what it caused. And then can show maybe the other districts, don't do this again in the future, otherwise this is what's going to happen. So I think they're already going to be dead, and he's going to come home to no family.
Which would really give us a little bit of the end of Catching Fire, when Katniss does get out and they do break the arena. And she asks if we're in District 12, and they say, there is no District 12. Yeah. So his family and his girlfriend already being dead when he gets home would really parallel that moment as well.
Yeah. Especially because she thinks her family is all gone when he says that. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a tough read.
It is. So that is it for part 2 of Sunrise on the Reaping. Stay tuned. We are going to finish up our last read, and we will then be posting part 3 and the conclusion of Sunrise on the Reaping. Yeah, go catch up. Let's listen. Let's talk. I don't know. Tell us your theories.
Yeah, read the book. Cry with us.
Cry with us. Yes. Maybe we should just bring a box of tissues to...
What if we read the final chapter live?
Let's do it.
Okay.
We're gonna do it.
Okay,
oh my god.
What's the last chapter? Can you see? Or like, should we read the epilogue live or the last chapter?
Let me see. I'm not gonna read anything. I'm gonna just check page numbers.
So I know there's an epilogue. So should we do the epilogue or just the last chapter and the epilogue?
The last chapter has a lot of italics, so there's a lot of songs or letters. The last chapter is page 366 to 380.
So chapter 27.
Yes, and the epilogue is 2 pages.
What do you want to do? You want to read both or the epilogue?
Let's plan for both.
Okay.
Let's plan for both.
Okay, you read the chapter and then I'll read the epilogue.
And who's bringing the Kleenex?
I think we're both going to need
We're both going to need a box.
Yeah. So yeah, join us for, if you want the ending, we'll read it. Can we get copyright for that?
I don't know.
Maybe we'll into that and we'll break it up or something.
Yeah. I mean, we can stop and give our thoughts. We won't just straight read it. That's a way around it, I think. Okay. So stay tuned for part 3 of Sunrise on the Reaping, and we will, after we discuss our part 3 thoughts and theories and we cry a little bit, we will read a little bit of those final pages, and we won't read them ahead of time. We'll live react.
Yeah.
Live react to those final pages and the conclusion of Sunrise on the Reaping.
Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @MustLoveBooksPodcast. Thank you and happy reading.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.